There isn't a lot to choose from when it comes to video games about controlling sharks. Jaws from the NES, Jaws Unleashed on the original Xbox, and that's about it. ManEater from Tripwire Studios takes what should be a simple gimmick game and deepens the plot and makes it much more interesting of a game than I originally thought it was going to be. The game is centered in the fictional city of Coastal Point, and its narrative is told through a fictional in-game reality TV show called ManEaters vs. Shark Hunters. This episode focuses on a shark hunter called Scaly Pete. Pete catches a large shark and finds out that it's pregnant. So he marks the new baby shark with a large scar, and in turn the newly born shark bites off his hand. You are going to be that baby shark. The game takes place over what seems like about a decade or so, and sadly the game does a poor job of showing time pass. The cutscenes with Pete and later on his son Kyle are decent enough, getting me more invested as time went throughout the game. But even then there is a large disconnect with what I'm watching in the cutscene and what I'm actually doing in the game. I'm the shark, and I'm tasked with terrorizing the deep and the land, murdering hundreds of people and thousands of animals, while the in-game cutscenes happening on the TV show are focused on the human hunters. Who exactly am I supposed to be rooting for? Scaly Pete is an odd character and would definitely be the breakout icon for a TV show if he was real. His thick Cajun accent can be a bit hard to understand though, and the TV show narrative does a good job of emulating what type of show you're supposed to be watching, with its included channel watermarks and even hashtags when someone says something popping up in the bottom right hand corner of the screen to get viewers to join in the discussion. It got me to giggle a little bit. It's a well done trope, but a trope nonetheless. It doesn't help either that the Scaly Pete character is the bad guy, even though the story halfway through tries to make the audience feel sympathy for him. Even though he's acting like a lunatic near the end, I understand his motivation. He watches his son die after a single shark who is basically having a vendetta against him jumps aboard his ship and causes a big old fire and an explosion, even though the shark actually didn't even do anything wrong, but it did eat his leg. The game itself was a lot more enjoyable than I originally thought it was going to be. When I originally saw the game at E3 a few years prior, it seemed interesting, but I saw it on launch day and it looked more goofy than anything else. And it got into this weird gameplay loop of games where it says, here's our gimmick, now do the same thing for the next 10 hours. I wish I spent a little bit more time understanding what the game actually was, because I just needed to try it for myself. Once I got my hands on it, I quickly had a hard time putting it down. Controlling the shark feels natural and fun. Knifing through the surface of the water as a silent killer further adds to the atmosphere of feeling like an assassin. Stalking your prey and breaching the water at the exact moment always feels amazing. And even if the goofy, unrealistic nature of jumping on land and flopping around while munching on beachgoers looks a little odd, you still feel like you always have the upper hand in the situation. The game has a large map with plenty of collectibles, and I thought I was going to be overwhelmed with this, like an Assassin's Creed game. But when you grab most of the collectibles, you get a little bit of flavor narration by the TV show host, voiced by Chris Parnell, and it adds to the enjoyment of searching around for these little items. Each little item that you collect gives you some collectible material that you get to use in your home base called the Grotto to upgrade your shark. Eating fish, humans, and other animals results in nutritions, fats, proteins, and radioactive waste that accumulate into spending currency for upgrades. The upgrade system is fairly basic, allowing you to upgrade different parts of your body. Killing apex predators grants you some elemental parts that are grafted onto your skin. The shadow fins allow you to shoot poison fin darts at enemies, while the bioelectric upgrades provide electric shockwaves that are sent out when you take a bit of damage. You can also upgrade your internal radar that allows you to seek out more distant collectibles, or you can add more health or health regeneration attributes. You basically get to customize your shark a little bit. I personally stuck with some bone armor and some shadow fins near the end of the game, as it allows just a little bit more damage to be dealt. The main story of Scaly Pete versus the shark is sadly wasted. It's a story you've seen many times before and is so short and small and in between the hours and hours of swimming around that you usually forget about it until you're forced to engage with it. It does, however, break up the monotony of swimming around for collectibles and eating creatures, which is nice, and caps off a completed story area, even if it does let you go back to the open world and explore wherever you want. Leaving certain areas closed off until you upgrade or get older was kind of a bummer, as these blocked off areas were never really holding anything of value and there was no reason to block them off in the first place. I would have much rather been able to 100% the area the first time through instead of having to go back to the older areas near the end of the game when I have become an Elder or Mega Shark. The game was originally $40 at launch, and it does seem like a budget title, but that's not a bad thing. This is a great little title worthy of your time. It does something new and exciting, allowing you to fully be a Jaws-like shark with incredible powers and munch on humans until your heart's content. Causing too much chaos, though, like any good open world game, will bring in some sort of authority to put a stop to you, and you can deal with them or you can outrun them. It borrows from a lot of different games, but also makes itself stand out above the rest. The collectibles are tongue-in-cheek enough, and the location collection was my favorite, as it has little nods and references for each one. Coming across a submerging wooden kiosk of a banana brings up the "there is always money here" location, and a brief acknowledgement of what you're looking at by the narrator. It's that sort of budget wink and nod that doesn't try too hard, but makes some memes and other media spread out a little bit of the game to make it feel more full. While I certainly don't feel like the game is the greatest one I've ever played, it does enough new things and also places enough collectibles around for me to feel like there is more than a simple game with a simple gimmick. It feels like a game that could have been made in the early 2000s and would have thrived as a hit rental from Blockbuster. I would have loved to pick this up with my buddy on a Friday night and spend the whole weekend laughing our butts off at people running around on land away from a gigantic flopping shark in the middle of a golf course on a sand trap.